Hello painters and welcome back. Today I'm working on a canvas. I'm also going to pour some paint and I'm going to use a stencil and maybe some other bits and pieces too. I've got a lot of crazy ideas and I want to see if I can make them all come together into a single painting which hopefully will be successful. So I've already got a canvas here. If you saw the recent unboxing of Jerry's, my order from Jerry's Artorama, this is their economy canvas, the 12" by 12" that you saw me unwrapping, and I'm going to use this one today. What I like about it, it's nice and firm here on the surface, so I think when I use my stencil I'm not going to have any problems, but we will see. And around the edges I've already painted with black, and what I plan to use is this Deco Art stencil and some Dimensional Effects texture paste and some amazing silver paint and maybe some other things too. So let me get everything unwrapped and ready and we will make a start. So I'm going to create a textured surface on my canvas before I do my paint, and I'm using this one. This is the Deco Art Americana stencil. This is what it looks like. It is dandelion and it's 12 inches big, which is the same as my canvas. So that works out perfectly. I'm also using this product, the Dimensional Effects texture paste, and it's really simple to use. It comes in a little pot. You can take the top off and you can either use a brush or a sponge, or in this case I'm going to use a palette knife, and you can see it's nice and thick, not at all runny, very easy to use. Now previously when I've used texture paste I have coloured it in the past, but this time I'm going to put it underneath the paint so I don't need to do anything at all to colour it. So I just collect a little bit on my palette knife and basically press it through the holes on the stencil, and it's really simple. That's it. I just kind of scrape the palette knife across, the texture paste drops down into the holes and leaves a little bit of texture on my canvas, and it really is, oops, a little bit over the edge, that wasn't very careful of me, and it really is super simple. And because basically all you're doing is filling up the little holes in the stencil, you're really barely using any of this. So you can see that I took a little bit out. I've already still got a load there, so it's really economical. So I can do a whole bunch of these. Now if you're more arty or creative than I am, then maybe you can use your stencil to maybe do one here, do another one over here, or lapping or reverse them. But I'm just going to use the stencil straight as it is. I figured that these people are the designers, and I am just going to take advantage of their design. So it's going to be very quick and simple. A little bit of scraping and we're done. And I'm hoping that this will make me look like an artist, and I'll have no skill at all other than just to spread something around with my knife, and I will still be able to get a great result in the end. A little bit more. So I'm just going to complete putting the texture paste all over the rest of this stencil, and then I will lift the stencil up straight away, wash it and leave it to dry. Then we'll take a look. So my texture paste has dried and already this looks like a work of art. If you can see there, if I get the light just right, you can see where the texture paste has created a beautiful design on the canvas, and already I've fallen in love with this. I was kind of tempted to think, well, you know, white on white would look pretty cool, but I think I need to do a bit more to it. So I am going to do a little bit more, and what I have got is black and silver, and I want basically the canvas to be mostly black and then maybe just a little bit of silver coming up from the bottom. So we will see. I have mixed my black paint with Floetrol and water, and there's no silicone or any other additives in here, and it's a kind of pouring consistency. So I've put a little bit of paper down. I'm just going to cover the whole canvas with black before we start. Now I want my canvas to be covered, but I don't want it to be really, really thick, because I want the paint, if possible, to dry kind of thin, so that I will be able to see the texture through. If the paint dried with a lot of body, then I wouldn't be able to see so much of the texture from the dandelion stencil that I've got there, and I wouldn't be able to do my final step. So I'm hoping to have it covered, but not too thick. Okay, that looks good. So let's pull that back into frame. Got plenty of paint left over. I think I just need to go and wash my hands and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've just taken a good look around and everything seems to be covered up nicely. So the next thing I want to do is use this lovely silver. This is the Deco Art Dazzling Metallics in shimmering silver. It certainly looks fabulous here, and I'm hoping it's going to create a nice contrast with the black. So what I want to do is basically put a little here and try and swipe it just a little bit lightly up into the black. And I'm thinking, rather than even pour it, I might just try and put a little bit on the back of my palette knife and swipe. And I've never done something like that before, so let's see how that works out. If I just put a little bit of paint here on the back of my knife, and then I'm going to try and sweep it up over the black. Okay, so far so good. And that's not going to leave me a whole bunch of silver down at the bottom here, but will give me the silver coming up through. So I need to get a cloth, let's see, so I can wipe this off every time. And then I can refill it with a little more silver paint. And just gently swipe up again. So I think I'm just going to try and soften those edges a little bit. Pull them a little bit more out into the black. And maybe pull a bit of the black back down into the silver. Okay, I think I like it. So now I just have to keep my fingers crossed that when it dries I'll be able to see the texture of the texture paste once the paint shrinks back. In the meantime, I'm going to just bring you down because I know that was a long way away when I did those swipes, and just show you what this bottom section looks like. So now you can see the bottom section of the painting just here where I've got the silver, but because I didn't pour the silver onto the painting but just kind of dragged it up with the palette knife, I'm hoping I've got like a softer look to it, and there's not as much silver as there might have been otherwise. I've still got a border of it down the bottom, but we will see what happens. So there we are, black at the top, there's all the beautiful silver down at the bottom, and I'm hoping it's going to look really cool when it's dry. See you back here in a moment. Welcome back. So the paint is now dry and it's looking good so far. So you can't tell very much from looking this way, but if I hold it up to the top camera, you can see the paint is all shrunk back, and you can now see the wonderful texture here of the texture paste from the stencil is showing through beautifully through the paint. So this is what it looks like so far. Now, as you can see, I've already done a little bit of practice just here, because what I want to use next is this product. This is Deco Art Metallic Luster Silver Spark, and when you undo it, it's kind of unusual. It's a bit like a paste, but it's not waxy. It's more kind of like a souffle. If you imagine something very light and kind of almost as though it's got air in it. It's like a whipped paint. Now it's actually water-based rather than wax or oil-based, so it washes off nice and easily, and you can just spread it around on surfaces and things with your finger. And I have used it on some seashells and things in the past, which has worked out really beautifully. But I wanted to try it now to highlight the raised up parts on the picture. I found it kind of difficult because I started off originally by putting it on my finger and trying to rub it on the raised parts, and the raised parts on this one aren't quite raised enough. So if we have a look here, I kind of made a bit of a mess. My finger was too big to do it really nicely. So then I tried to do it with a paintbrush, and that works well, but because of all these tiny little things, oh, it was going to drive me mad to do that with a paintbrush, so I wasn't going to do that. And then I had a bright idea, or I should have thought of it to start with. All I need to do is put the stencil back over the top, line it up with the raised areas on my canvas, and then I can put the stuff on my finger and just rub over it nice and quick and easy, and it's going to highlight those raised areas. So if I just give that a try, I'll put a little bit of the paste on my finger, and I've lined up the stencil just here over this part, and then I can just run my finger over the top. And it also, when you put it on, it tends to be a little wet, but it dries really quickly. And then when you rub over the top of it, it polishes almost. Once it's dry and you rub it, it polishes to like a really shiny finish. So if you want to do it on a non-porous surface, like I do with the seashells, once you put it on and you let it dry, then you can buff it and it really shines. It's really interesting, useful and fun stuff to work with. So let me just finish off that bit there, take off my stencil, and there we go. I've perfectly highlighted this part of the dandelion. So now I'm just going to put the stencil over the rest, line it up very carefully, get that silver paste on my finger, rub it all over, and we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. So I've added the silver paste up in this first dandelion, you can see just here, and that's looking really cool. Obviously it's wet just yet, so I'm not going to rub my finger over it. I'm going to carry on now and do the rest, and I'll see you back here when it's finished. So I've completed all of the silver work on it now, and here it is ready and finished. Now it's not quite finished at the moment, it's just dry, but I don't have any kind of a sealer on it. But I'm thinking I'm going to use a spray sealer, and I thought it would be helpful actually to do a video on that later on. Just a quick snippet about how to use a spray sealer on your paintings. So you can see the details on it are absolutely fabulous. It's got that lovely raised texture, and although you can't really see it so much in the camera, the silver is really quite shimmery and bright, very metallic looking. So I've managed to put a lot of techniques into this one different canvas, but I think in the end it's worked out really well. It's not overly busy. It's got the little bit of the acrylic swipe down at the bottom with the silver metallic paint. Then I used the texture paste to give it a little bit of dimension, and then the silver wax paste over the top to make it really shine. And I'm absolutely really happy with how it turned out. So thank you very much for watching as usual with another of my videos. This one's been a little bit longer than usual because of all of the techniques used, but I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you'll continue to follow along, and I'll see you in a future video. See you soon.